Hey, Lily, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Two thumbs up.
Awesome.
How is your day going? I know that's a loaded question because the world's blowing up and you got to do press, but how are you doing generally?
I'm good. It's snowing here. Um, really, honestly, not a lot going on today, so doing pretty well. How about you?
Nonstop, but that's an okay thing. And I'm not getting you from Tennessee, right?
Yep.
Oh, it's snowing in Tennessee.
It's snowing in Nashville, Tennessee right now, which is a complete shock to me. So,
I can only imagine you did not grow up with a lot of snow.
yeah, I mean, every now and again, growing up in England, it definitely it has seasons. They're very pronounced. So if you got snow, it wasn't completely shocking, but
Right.
it's kind of
I, I, I was going more from, didn't you go between Tennessee and England for your upbringing? You had the experience of both polar opposite worlds?
yeah, I grew up in midair pretty much between
Exactly.
the two. So
Well,
yeah.
doing my reading here, I learned about Time Well Spent last year. Congratulations on having an album that's done and slotted, because a lot of people have an album that's done but not slotted. You put out the first single back in May,
Right.
and this is coming out in late January. So, how long has the album actually been done for?
Oh my gosh. Well, the songs, I wrote a lot of the songs as long as 10 years ago. So I've had some songs on here under my belt for a long time, but we actually finished recording April 2019. So
Wow.
it's been a journey, and I cannot wait to get this bad boy out. I've literally been sitting on it for so long. So yeah.
Yeah, that's been the general consensus when I'm interviewing artists that have an album with a release date. They go, yeah, it's been done for 6 months. We didn't know what the right time was. And I've written 30 songs since then.
Yeah.
Some of these songs are 10 years old. Does that mean you've written like 100 since then?
Oh, so many. I mean, I'm already ready to get back in the studio and start recording again. I mean, I'm as much as these songs are dear to my heart, it does I'm getting quite sick of you know, playing them over and over again. And I suppose now it's just kind of the beginning of having to play them. So can't really wait to get some more music out after this.
Yeah, having a song like Few More Records, that kind of that's kind of in the wheelhouse, even though that's not what it was intended to mean when you wrote that, I would assume.
Right, yeah. No, I wrote that song kind of about um just being really, I mean, I guess so, being burnt out on the road, and even though you're just really wanting to go home, you're like, well, gotta do my job, gotta put my records to sell. So yeah.
That makes sense. How far in advance is your life planned right now? Because I know the album has the release date for later this month, and Tennessee does things differently than, say, New York. So you'll find some people that you speak with who go, "Oh, well, I have a tour of Florida coming up in March." Not to disparage Florida per se, and then other
Yeah.
people go, "Well, our 2021 was moved into 2022." Which are you kind of at right now?
Oh my gosh. Well, I've had a few people reach out about some shows this summer. And obviously right now I'm I will agree to anything and everything, permitting that it's safe and whatnot, and following guidelines or whatever. But I yeah, I honestly, I think I have one show kind of in the talks about June.
Hmm.
But realistically, I can't see much further than February. It's just everything's so on edge right now. You just don't know.
Yeah. So how does somebody like yourself pass the time? Everyone, I think the obvious answer is, well, I'm watching this on Netflix and this on Hulu, and I got this Spotify channel running. Yeah, but like the other 19 hours a day that aren't, sleeping per se, what does Lilly Winwood do?
So I've actually been slinging margaritas downtown.
Okay.
I got hired for a job back in June just kind of because, this pandemic, like, just kind of put me in a bit of uncertain times, as did everybody. So
Yeah.
picked up a job doing that, and I love it. Like, it's a really good use of time, good way to make money. Met some really cool people being in Nashville too, doing that. So it's a little Mexican joint called Saint Añejo in the Gulch here in Tennessee. Give a shout out to them. But yeah, they've been super cool, and it's been a really cool way to sort of pass my time.
What is it that keeps you based in Nashville? I know it's Music City, USA, and then you had somewhat of an upbringing on a farm, but a lot of people, once they turn 18, 19, they go, I'm going to do the exact opposite of what my upbringing was before I realize that I miss it and love it and come back.
Right. So I grew up primarily in England, and that's kind of where the farm was.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I turned 18 and had spent summers here, and actually went to school in Nashville for a couple of years. And then, like, obviously it being Music City, my mom has a home here, I have family here. I just turned 18 and I was like, okay, well, I'm obviously not gonna sit in Gloucestershire, England for the rest of my life. Kind of want to be a big city girl, so it's between London and Nashville. And I think London was just a bit far-fetched to me, being 18 years old and not having a dime to my name. So I just came over here, and I've been here 6, 7 years now, and I'm not leaving anytime soon.
To me as a New Yorker, Nashville became super cool and mainstream like 5, 6 years ago. It became where all the bachelorette parties kind of go.
Yeah.
People who say that they love country music but don't really love country music, they love pop that has added percussion and auto-tune on it that calls itself country per se.
Right.
So was it music that was the allure primarily for Nashville as opposed to, say, Chicago, LA, New York?
I guess so, yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, wherever you go, you're gonna make contacts, you're gonna find your little niche and what kind of makes it home to you. And Nashville does have a reputation of having that whole, like, bro country and pop country thing, but underneath that, there's just, like, so much history and so many cool people with every single kind of genre. There's actually, like, a big hip hop scene here now, that I know of, and I think, yeah, just exploring into that is super cool. And yeah, I think Nashville just has, like, a really cool music scene.
And
Albeit or whatever.
well, something else I like to find out about from artists is, in some professions, you only hang out with people who get what it is you're talking about, and then other professions, you want nothing to do with the people in it because they're kind of your competitors. Like, dentists don't really hang out. They're like, I'm the best dentist. Chiropractors don't hang out. But singer-songwriters, I find sometimes all their best friends are comics and singer-songwriters, and then other ones, they go, no, I need normal civilians in my life. Which one are you closer to?
Oh, definitely my singer-songwriter fam. East Nashville kind of, like, adopted me. And I'm just looking out my window now. Every single one of my neighbors play music in some way or another. I think you'll find that with everybody here. But no, there's, like, this just super cool sort of singer-songwriter musician family in East Nashville that I hold so dear to my heart. And with each person's success, we kind of bring the other along with us. If one person gets a super cool show, we're like, hey, why don't you come open up for me, or vice versa. So I think I definitely want a lot to do with people in my profession, to answer your question.
I'm glad to hear that. At least somebody is functional, and that's you.
Yeah.
So the new album is obviously the focus, and you're going to be talking about it nonstop for a couple of months. But looking ahead long term, do you have aspirations to write for other artists?
For sure, that's always been an option kind of in the back of my head. Yeah, I would love to maybe explore that. I haven't necessarily taken any action when it comes to that, but I'm super open to the idea.
I just figured with all the neighbors, it being
Right.
a collaborative kind of community, that you were actually going to say, well, I have 4 cuts on the new Trisha Yearwood album. You don't know about that? That kind of thing.
Right. No, I mean, I wish. Trisha Yearwood's super cool.
And another thing that I don't know about you per se is what the album or artist was, or which, or who, or what. I don't have the right question word right there, but who or what or which album it was that kind of hooked you to start playing guitar or piano first.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Here's the big kicker. I was seriously into Guns N' Roses when I was a kid. Like ACDC, Guns N' Roses, all that classic rock, like loved me some Aerosmith. And I asked my dad for a Christmas present for a guitar, and he bought me like a little Fender Strat, Fender Squire.
Oh yeah.
It was bright red, and just all I wanted to do was just shred. And I had this guitar teacher called Tony who had like hair down to his knees, just sort of super metal rocker dude. And that was my sort of dipping the toe in playing music, I guess.
For me, same deal. It started off like Poison, and I saw the ridiculous guitar solos, and then that kind of graduated to Motley Crue, which I find that the hard rock is nothing I'm ashamed of, that it's as great now as it ever was if it was a great album. Can you still listen happily to Guns N' Roses, ACDC, or do you have a little bit of guilt over it?
Oh man, I cringe just because I've heard it so much. I just like, oh, it's so overplayed. Like, kind of walk into any bar or restaurant, that's always the sort of background music that's playing. But I mean, no disrespect to them. Like, such great music, but like, oh gosh, I can't listen to it anymore. I've overplayed it.
Well, you said shred and there was early guitar influences. Did that lead to Van Halen as well?
A little bit. I never really kind of got that into Van Halen.
I'm finding Van Halen doesn't seem to have meant as much in England as it did here. Meaning like Van Halen was kind of like a 3-4 big hit band in England, whereas here it's like an all-time top 10 kind of band. Do I have that generalization right?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely the case. I can remember like, if you remember that video game Guitar Hero.
Sure.
Yeah, that's kind of like, that was like the 2 or 3 Van Halen hits on Guitar Hero like we always used to play. So that's probably the case, right? I don't think they're as big in England.
Have you gotten to the point with your musical history that you've learned British artists who are all-time huge top artists in England who are unknown here? Like you realize that like Cliff Richard and Petula Clark and Status Quo, like no one really knows them here?
Yeah. Also, I find it so fascinating that like some American artists will get super big in England and then not really find their feet over here until later, like Kings of Leon.
Yeah.
I can remember them being like huge in England and like sort of saying to my friends over here, like, you gotta listen to Kings of Leon, super cool band. And then, now they're everywhere. But yeah.
One of my favorite examples of that is the band Wheatus, who is headlining like Download or Glastonbury or something like that. And here they barely had one hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So back to you again, kind of recapping here. Time Well Spent out later this month. You've written tons of songs since then. You might have a gig in June. There may be more coming soon. Anything that I've missed here? Is there a secret podcast in development, or the vlogging side of you will eventually take over everything?
Oh man, not per se, although I guess just kind of keep looking at my socials. I don't have a set date for a live stream, but I assume there's going to be lots of live streaming on my Instagram and Facebook. following the release of this record, which is kind of the closest I can get to listeners, to show them kind of like, I'm still here, like, please come to shows.
Well, that sounds good to me. I hope to eventually see some live streaming from you in some form. So my closer, Lilly, any last words for the kids?
For the kids, oh man, don't let last year bring you down, I guess. Keep positive.
Good assessment. Well, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to seeing you live in New York beyond the live streams when things get normal again. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Have a good one.
Paltrocast.